Hyde. The summer of 1993. This is being written as fiction, because I am unsure about the statute of limitations concerning grave robbing. We all have our inner demons. For many years I have had a struggle with alcohol. Not because I am an addict, well I guess we all are alcoholics after we take that first drink. It would seem that hangovers would be the cure to alcoholism. As they come on, it's much like a paradox of the mind. You're questioning everything, slowly recalling the things you may have done as if they were a black and white movie playing in the background. As you re-wondering if you're about to lose your breakfast, you give yourself a pat on the back, saying, "That a boy, good job you didn't end up in the slammer." As you're watching that old movie flickering in the background, you're watching a different person, doing things that you would never do. Things Hyde would do. Alcoholics Anonymous was just a band-aid for me. I would get up and do my thing, listen to the stories, and then it would come around to me. I would get back up, thank the group, and tell the story of Hyde. Hoping for some solace, I would end up with the occasional business card from a great psychiatrist, or so I was informed. By the leader of the widening eyes that viewed me, as if I was a creature from the Black Lagoon. Sure, that place works for a lot of people, but I am not the drink everyday guy. Sometimes there is a 6 to 7 months in between drink. But when I do, the devil lights the fire in that old furnace that sits rusting away in hell, thinking this will be the time he comes on down. I heard once that people, who get hangovers, have the worst inner demons. Mine, however, is a fedora-wearing, cigar-smoking shadow of a man that makes very bad snap decisions. Over the years I have catalogued his madness on the human race, and I have threatened to publish his stories for better or worse. Sometimes we have to feed our demons other ways. So dear readers, listeners, strangers, and friends, this is the story of Hyde. For some reason I find it funny, that after the 7th or 8th drink your surroundings could be a park bench or a barn. Most other drunks are miserable creatures. My mother was one. Even the happy ones have their moments. She even had psychic visions under the influence. Have you ever seen a bunch of drunks, banged out of their minds, doing an exorcism that is on someone that is clearly drunk? Well, if not, then you're missing out. The summer of 1993, I had come back home from college, and to my surprise, my mother had fallen back into the bottle. Before this she wasn't a hard drinker. If you were to create a timeline of her life, most of her problems would point to this night in 1993. A number of my friends had heard of my short homecoming, and as expected they showed up, to say hi and drink. A few from college had also come with me to help on a video project I had planned to work on while I was at home. As everyone gathered at my mother's house, things I still cannot explain started to happen. Something had a plan for us, and it involved a huge amount of alcohol. One of my older friends decided it would be a great idea to tell a story about an old house not too far from my mother's. I was always the adventurous type, but drunken adventurers are something people should never have to see. The old house was creatively named the Blood House. A few years back, something got into the owner, and he took it upon himself to behead and sling the heads of his wife and children at the wall beside the carport. This was reported to have left a lasting wet, red stain that could not be removed. Over the years the house was rented back out, but no one would stay for one reason or another, becoming vacancy and a haunt for the lost passerby or the drunken adventurer. After a few drinks the group decided it would be a great idea to go see the place in the middle of the night. What did you expect? As soon as he told the story, someone popped his or her head up like a snow ferret looking for food, saying, "Let's go." Off we went, but my mother decided to stay home. She did, however, have a strange request. She asked the one that told the story, to bring back a piece of the wood that had the red stain on it. I just knew it was going to be one of them nights, I just didn't know how badly it would become. To be honest, I was 4 strong drinks going in, so just about anything sounded like a good idea. The house was dark and felt lonely. The only light was from the moon and a street light some 10 yards away. The red wet stain was right where my friend had said it would be. Each of us passed our drunk twitching fingers over the stain. It felt waxy and wet. For a moment in the mind's eye you could see it oozing. My friend did ask, my mother asked. He took out his pocket knife, cut into the wood, removing an inch-long chunk that had the red stain sealed on it. This is the moment in this story that should have never happened. We should have never taken that wood. As we left the blood house that night, I turned because I thought I heard a sound. In the corner of my eye, I thought I saw a man wearing a black fedora and smoking a cigar as he grinned the grin of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. The night seemed to move quicker and quicker. As soon as we all got back to my mother's house, she demanded the chunk of wood from my friend. To all of our surprise, she tossed it in her mouth, chewed it up and chased it back with a shot of whatever was in her cup that night. The moral compass of the group seemed to change. The topics started to get darker and darker, bordering on a morbid nature. Keep in mind this was the only time my mother had ever done anything like that, or what occurred some time after. She had zoned out and then she was looking around at everyone grinning evilly, that is until her words came. I have never heard her speak like that and I didn't have a clue what she was saying. Her movements changed, she became more limber, almost taking youthful strides around the house. Something had changed her, this we all were in agreement of. Her demons had taken over and decided to show themselves to us. What we were witnessing was evil being born into this world. In a way my mother paid for her actions, this evil slowly killed her. The thing she took joy in, took her life. I guess what I need to say, is dear reader, if this evil has a hold of you, try to find a way to turn back, or you may just find yourself down here in the devil's furnace with the rest of us. Someone had decided that mother was possessed by the devil or something that roamed the darkest night. At this point she was a real Emily Rose. This was super easy to sell to a bunch of drunks, and when it is sold, the Bibles come out, people start blessing holy water between drinks, it becomes a real shit show, and so begin the exorcism. A 3-hour-long event of screaming and reciting Bible passages by a bunch of lit nut jobs. I thought it would be good idea to videotape the event, to play back to my mother in an attempt to get her to stop drinking so much. Now I have watched that tape a few times and there are parts where the video blinks out and lines run through the screen. The tapes were new, and so was the equipment, as I had taken them from school for the project I was working on. Sometime after the madness came to a rest, things began to wind down and not much was said after that. Members of the group slowly started to fall out. I found myself at the kitchen table alone, reflecting on the events of the night with my friend Johnny Walker. Reports are conflicting about what happened after this. Johnny and me ended up on a trip back up to the blood house, where I found a black fedora and a pack of backwoods cigars sitting on a half-rotting table and a well-worn chair. The following morning I woke up beside the hat and half-burnt cigar in the ashtray beside my bed. Waking up in my old bed was a relief, that is, I didn't wake up in jail. I fell back asleep, until a friend that wasn't there from the night before came in and started shaking me, demanding to know if we had anything to do what happened last night. At first I really didn't understand, as the hangover took over and I covered my eyes. Doing so I noticed my hands were dirty, blistered, and smelled of smoke. He said that someone had burnt down the house where that guy killed his family. I pretend to act as if I didn't know about the house. That's not the worst thing. He went on to tell me that a man in a black hat smoking cigars dug up a bunch of coffins beside the creek that flows through town. He then went on to say that this person pushed each of them into the creek. The whole town had spent the morning fishing out coffins all over town. I looked at him and then over to the hat, then covered my eyes, simply saying, "Damn, what a night." The person I came to know as Hyde had been born. Hyde would poke his head out from time to time, but not as hard as he did a few years later. When a friend of mine moved down from Maryland with his family and asked me to move in and help him sell off a number of items they had collected over the years. As payment he gave me a case of Rip Van Winkle that we found in the back of one of the semis they had brought down from Maryland. A case I would drink over the course of a year, and each bottle would bring out Hyde, but that's another story.